Good morning, a very warm welcome. I'm Lisa Daisel. I'm from the Unisa Directorate for Counselling and Career Development. This morning, we are very excited to be joined by Thembi Nziane. She will be talking to us about managing career change in your career development process. With me, I've got my two colleagues, Mrs. Mandu Makanya as well as Mr. Beki Mzobe, and they will be helping me throughout the presentation. So this morning we will start the presentation by a short introduction to our speaker, after which we will be chatting about the managing career change in your career development process. As Thembi is presenting a presentation, please post any questions that you have in the Q&A on Teams. We will be attending to the questions throughout the presentation as well as at the end of the session. And then we will end off at about 12 with a thank you. For now, I would like to welcome Mrs. Makanya. If you could just introduce our presenter to us. Thank you, Mrs. Makanya.
Thank you, Lisa. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. She is the co-founder or the CEO and founder of Mothudi Services. And she is also a graduate from Unisa, and she graduated in a BCom accounting degree. Her dream was to become a chartered accountant, but today she finds herself in a different space. And this day she is an entrepreneur and managing Mothudi Services, a medical company that supplies hospitals across South Africa and other businesses in other industries. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me pleasure to introduce Ms. Thembi Nziane, and I must say that we are a proud alma mater of hers. Thembi.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you for such an introduction. It's always quite interesting when you're the person who is doing the introduction. Thank you so much to Lisa, to Becky, and everybody for making this possible. And thank you to everybody. Good morning, by the way, to everybody else. And thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time to listen in. As introduced, my name is Thembi Nziane, and I am currently the CEO of Mothudi Services. I'm a Unisa alumni. I did my BCom Accounting Sciences, and now I'm an entrepreneur. And I am here to share my journey with everybody. So I hope it will be a fruitful engagement. But before we start, I just want to start with a quote. It's actually more of a scripture, but I subscribe to it so much. I call it a quote because it's something that I live by in my life, or I remind myself of it on a daily basis. It's from the book of Ecclesiastes. It says, "There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens." So I want it to be a theme as we start our conversation on managing career change in your career development process. And I want everybody to know and understand that there is a time for everything, and there is a season for each and every activity. So with that said, I do not want to waste much more time. I want to just get into it and talk about the purpose for today. So today we'll be speaking about managing career change in your career development process. This process is quite tricky. It's a transition. It's changing from one place to another. And I'll be also sharing my journey with you, and then we can work through it, whatever you may be going through or you are about to go through. I hope this will be able to assist everybody. So our main discussions for today, we will be discussing what career change is, understanding career change, what it looks like when it's planned and when it's unplanned. We are also going to touch on the coping strategies of career change. We'll be doing assessments of self and the situation, what that would look like, how to build resilience throughout the process, how to take action and what that looks like, and working through the challenges that everybody during their career transition goes through, and then we're going to conclude. So those are the main points that we will be discussing today. So starting out with understanding career change. Career change can be occupational change, can be industry change, or it can be a job function change. It refers to a process of moving from one occupation to another, typically in pursuit of a different type of work or a new career goal. So this can involve changing your job function. It can involve changing your industry or your occupation altogether. So career change can be driven by yourself, which falls under planned career change, or it could be circumstantial, which is mostly what everybody goes through. And that's what I want to focus on and dwell on. All the other steps are relevant to both circumstantial and planned career change. But I'm going to speak about circumstantial change, career change, because that's what happened to me, and that is my personal journey. But before we get into that, we're going to look at a few examples. What do we mean by circumstantial career change, and what do we mean by planned career change? So for circumstantial career change, we're talking about, for instance, the first thing on the list is retrenchment. We spoke about purpose. This was my slide for purpose. I'm just going to quickly go through it because I was not aware that everybody could not see my presentation. And this was the slide for the main points: understanding career change, coping strategies, assessment, resilience, taking action, the challenges, and the conclusion. And we are now understanding career change slide. So the first one on the list, as mentioned, under the circumstantial career change, could be retrenchment. We've seen this happen a lot, especially with what is happening with the unemployment rate in the country. A lot of people had to receive retrenchment packages. So then you have to make sure that you are able to put something on the table for your family, so you could land a job whether you like the job or not, just to make sure that you're feeding your family. That's one form of circumstantial career change. The second one on the list is a business that closes down and the owner seeks employment. We see this so often. Every year there's a business that's shutting down. The first 5 years of any small business, the survival chances are very slim. So it happens a lot. The business closes down and the owner seeks employment. Even the people who were employed by the owner seek employment. That's another example of a circumstantial career change. Relocation, which results in a new job. An opportunity comes up, you have to relocate. You have a new job, which is an occupational change. There's a job change function altogether. You find yourself in a circumstantial career change. A person develops a health condition and is required to change their job. An accident is one example of them. Maybe you were put in a wheelchair afterwards, maybe you are blind, for whatever reason it could be. So now your job requires you to do something else. Your disability requires you to do something else. That is a circumstantial career change. A job obsolete due to technology. We've seen this happen so often in the banking sector or even in the restaurant industry. Usually when you go to McDonald's, you'd find a lot of tellers to assist you, but now you find one big giant machine, you can interact with it, and then you have your order. So jobs being absolute due to technology is something very common for our generation also. And those are some of the circumstantial career change, a lot of them. There's a lot of classical examples that we can talk about. I will speak about mine. just in a short while. So going into the examples of planned career change, we are looking at a security guard who becomes a lawyer. I think Unisa also has a case of this nature. People working through the transition of where they are versus where they want to go. And then we also have the second one, a medical doctor who becomes a hospital CEO. The doctor was patient facing and now is running, as CEO, is running the administration of the hospital. Even though it's the same industry, the job function change. And then the third example would be a hedge fund manager who starts a business. This is a classical example of the Harvard case study, which is Jeff Bezos. For instance, he was a successful hedge fund manager, and he went to his boss and he said, listen, I think I want to quit my job. I want to sell books online, which is Amazon now. And his manager was like, why would you want to change? You're so successful. That's something that he wanted to do differently. And it came with its own challenges, but is very successful right now. So that's one of the classical changes of a planned career change. A chartered accountant who becomes a teacher, it's very common. You reach your goal and you realize it's not fulfilling the purpose or the passion that you have for your life, and therefore you'd rather teach, and that's where your passion is, and it happens a lot. So that's one of the planned career changes. And the last one, a community worker who decides to be a risk officer. It could be also motivated by financial security and financial stability for whatever reason it may be. Career change is circumstantial or is planned. At some point or another in our lives, we experience circumstantial career change, and that's why I want to focus on it. And with that said, I want to now speak about my journey in the process of career change. So for me, I finished matric and I went to Unisa to study my undergrad, my BCom accounting sciences. I had the ambitions of becoming a chartered accountant. That's all I've ever wanted to be, as far as I remember. And I studied it. I finished, I enrolled for my postgraduate studies, CTA, which is required for you to do before you do your articles. So while I was doing that, enrolled, I landed a job with a small company in the financial sector. I needed to find the job to be able to sustain myself. So I needed the job, I had to. So that was one of the first career change that I had for me. Actually, it wasn't even a change, it was a start, but it wasn't also in the field that I studied. It was totally for something different. And only now in hindsight, when I think about it, that it was meant to be. So as I was in that position, I continued to work while I was studying. I still wanted to be a CA when I was then, at the time, when I was there. So what happened is that I fell pregnant, and it's not something that I had planned, but it happened. It wasn't planned, and that changed my whole trajectory. I decided that I don't want to go to work. I don't want to go back to work. I want to focus on business because of what I was going through at the time. I decided to go into business full time so that I'll also have time to raise my child. And while that happened, I relocated. So almost everything in the circumstantial career change that we mentioned earlier happened to me. So I was trying to manage all of these things at the same time. Usually, when there's a career change transition happening in a person's life, every other element is affected. It affects you at your core as a person, because it's like now everything is crumbling down. I had something happen to me that I had not planned, as it does to everybody else. To somebody else, it could be a job, a contract that is not renewed. It throws you off completely. a retrenchment, a job loss, or you not going back to work, deciding that you're going to quit. You had not planned it, but the working environment has become so toxic that you're not able to go back. Whatever challenge it may be in a person's life right now, or whatever challenge you may be going into, sometimes we don't plan. And when we do plan, it doesn't go according to what we thought it would. So for me, I had to make decisions at the time that I felt were correct for me. Now I have the hindsight of dealing with it or looking at it as it unfolded going back. But now I want to help somebody else. I want to help somebody else. You could be here. I want to help you through the process, that when you see things falling apart, when there's so much confusion and you don't know what to do because it's affecting your life, it shouldn't be as difficult. And that's why we have to talk about these things, that sometimes you could be somebody who lost your job, and therefore at the same time, you lose the partnership that you have, your relationship where you go through a divorce, going through these things together at the same time. You could be, I mean, be liquidated for whatever reason. So there are so many things that happen that come with career change. Everything that was glued together, you could have identity crisis because you put so much value on everything that you are in what you were doing. That's how you define yourself as a person. So I also went through all of these things, and now I want to help somebody else. I am still going through it because at some point or another in your life, you're going to go through at least 4 to 5 career changes, and those are all circumstantial, and they can be very difficult to sometimes deal with them. Even when they are planned, they are still difficult. So that's what I want us to focus on now, the career change challenges. There's a lot of uncertainty and fear of the unknown, as everybody knows and everybody experiences when they go into anything new. We experience a lot of turmoil, a lot of confusion. When you get into it, you have lack of experience, which becomes a challenge. It also goes back and it creates a lot of fear of the unknown and the uncertainty. There's financial challenges. If you just got retrenched or you just lost a job, it means you can't afford your car, you can't afford to feed your family, you can't afford anything. And also your lifestyle has to change, whether it's for the good or for the bad. Sometimes it comes with, when I say financial challenges, just because you change your career doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking a downgrade. It could also be an upgrade. But for instance, the challenges that come with it, for instance, if you're relocating for a better job, the challenges that come with it is now you have to manage the new money. You have to find a new place. Are you mortgaging? Are you going to rent? So those financial challenges are there, whether it's for a good change or an adverse one. And then you come and then there's also the age and the social pressure. At your age, would you want to do this? Now, somebody else is doing this. Everybody else is doing well. What is happening? Your peers are doing well. You are only now starting your career. What does that mean? You're entry level, but you're 40, you're 35. You're not where you thought you'd be right now. So how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the social pressure of saying, okay, I left that, I feel like I'm a failure because I left it halfway, things are not working out. So there's so many issues that we deal with. And these issues are at a core level, which is at an identity level, at a macroeconomic level, which are at an economic level, and they are also just around us at a social level. So we're dealing with a lot of things. Just the one career change has now created so much identity crisis in you because of all the pressures, the social pressure, the financial challenges. Other people link their lifestyle financially to who they are. And then your lack of experience makes you feel like you're unworthy. There's just so much doubt that happens in you. There's so many challenges that you have to deal with when you're going through career change. So I am here to let you know that if you're going through it, you've gone through it, or you are still going to go through it, these are common for everybody. You're not the only person who is going through them. Everybody else experiences them. But how then do we overcome it? How then do we deal with effectively going through the transition while having all of these, because they're not going anywhere? So what we have is coping strategies to deal with the challenges, whatever challenge it may be, whether I mentioned it or I didn't mention it. The first one is support. We need to reach out to family and friends. If we have the financial means to reach out to professional networks through therapy, then we can do that. We need the emotional support. We need to reach out to people we know that will support us, people we know that will be in our corner no matter what happens. The second one is we need to stay informed. By staying informed, we mean we need to research the new field that we are in thoroughly. We need to stay up to date with the trends. We need to keep up with the developments of the industry that we're in, the position that you're in, what's everybody else who's successful doing. When people were still at entry level, what are they doing? So that you can gain some sense of confidence to say, okay, when I start out, this is where I am, but this is where I could be. And it also gives you that confidence to say it can happen. Other people are doing it, and I'm not the only person who's confused. I'm not the only person who's feeling a certain way. So in that way, when you stay informed, you feel a lot better, and it gives you a sense of confidence that you are in the right place, or what you are doing is correct for where you are. So the next one will be training and education. So consider taking courses, getting certified, a degree, to build the skills to be employable or to be able to get that sale that you need. This is absolutely fundamentally important, because we need the set of skills to stay or to grow in the industry that we just found ourselves in or planned to be in. And the education, whether it's formal or informal education, it is important for us to be able to cope and see everything through, especially throughout this transition period. And the next one would be staying positive. So cultivating a positive mindset is so important, because it allows us to see the opportunities and the possibilities of the change. It allows us to say, oh, okay, this is possible, that is possible, I can do this, I can do that. So with that positive mindset, you are able to see things differently, and how you can position yourself for those opportunities and the possibilities. And then the next one, which is my personal favorite, is practicing self-care. Self-care in the form of exercising, sleeping enough, dieting, meditating. I'm Christian, so for me, praying and going to church are the two things that help me cope with a lot of the issues in my life, or that also help me cope throughout the transition. Being able to be guarded, or being able to have that hope or have faith in what is happening in my life, irrespective of my circumstances, having a certain of understanding that is beyond my circumstances. I had to tap into my spirituality in understanding what God has said for my life and over my life, irrespective of the circumstances that I was going through at the time. So taking care of yourself is very important throughout this process, whether that job is there or not, whether things are going well or not throughout your career transition. It's very important that we sleep enough, that we eat well, that we exercise, and we take care of ourselves, because we only have ourselves, and you need to be sane and yourself when you're going through this process. And the last one is setting realistic goals. So The goal will be big and will be clear, but we need to cut it into pieces so that it's manageable for a daily basis. So that you know that each and every day consistently I'm able to apply, so that you're also able to celebrate the milestones before you get to the point that you want to get to. This is a new industry that you're in. You're going through this transition, and for you to be able to get there, you need to set achievable goals, something that you are able to do to build those new habits on a daily basis and stay consistent with, so that you are able to get to the goal. With that said, after we have these coping strategies, or we're in the process of implementing these coping strategies, self-assessment and assessment of our situation is next. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is we need to analyze where we are. We need to analyze ourselves, and we need to find out, for instance, when we talk about analysis of self, we are talking about what are your skills, what are your interests, and what are your values. So at a personal level, to share an example with me, one of the assets that I took with me from employment to self-employment was my work ethic. So I think when I was still employed, I was a person who I got to work at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. in the morning. And I didn't know that was preparing me for this next process. Now, as a business owner, I work around the clock. Whether it's 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 12 a.m., I'm up and I'm working. So knowing your assets when you're transitioning, whether you've been 10 years in your previous career going into the new one, you don't completely come in empty-handed. These assets that are of value that will be very useful for you in the current career change that you find yourself in. So that's just one of the examples. So you need to now take stock. You need to take stock. You need to find out, what are the assets that I have? What are the skills that I have? What are my interests? What are my values? Those are important things that will keep you grounded. You do an assessment of your situation. What does my financial situation look like? How far can I go with this? Should I cash in my pension going into the next one? Will I survive with what I have going over? So those are some of the things that will help you realize what you have and what you don't have, so that you can position yourself better for it. And on top of that, we go through things like, what are the new habits that I need to learn and unlearn? So that's the next phase. That's step 2 of this assessment of self or the situation. So going into the new career stream, the new job function, the new occupation, what can I learn? What do I need to unlearn? Because you find yourself in a situation, or even in a working environment, where there's people like, no, but we've been doing this for 20 years. We've been doing this as far as I remember. I've been doing this. This is how I've always been. So now there's a situation in front of you that you are facing that requires you to unlearn certain habits. It requires you to take on new ones. So that is important, to be open to it, to say, okay, taking into consideration where I am, everybody else in my position has this, has that. So this means I need to learn this. This means I need to unlearn this. And the third step would then be, we need to now, after we know what we need to unlearn, after we know what we need to learn, we need to align and reaffirm. I need to align and get back to myself. I need to reaffirm my values and my boundaries. What am I willing to do? What am I not willing to do? And once we align and reaffirm this, then will bring it back to us understanding our situation, where we are and who we are, irrespective of what is happening, irrespective of our circumstances. Now, knowing the situation that we're in, knowing what we have in terms of skill set, in terms of interest and our goals, we go into the next element, which is building resilience. Resilience is the difference between those who are successful and those who are not successful. Resilience is being able to go through anything, still staying focused. Resilience is, it doesn't matter what is happening around me. I will fight this through until the end, until I'm able to achieve my goal. So how do we do that? How do we build resilience? There's 4 things that are involved in building resilience. The first one is cultivating a positive mindset. How do we do that? Because everybody seems to be talking a lot about a positive mindset. We self-talk. We affirm ourselves. We declare to ourselves. And most importantly, we focus on things that we can control. So building that positive mindset means that I say to myself, even though things are not working out, I am strong. I can see this through. All I have to do is go through this day. I will be okay. It will be okay. I'm confused. I do not understand what's happening, but I've got this. Because you are the only person who can do that to yourself. You're the only person who can amp yourself up like that to say, no matter what is happening, doesn't matter what I'm seeing, beyond what I can see, I know I'll be fine. So every morning, waking up and telling yourself that, because you need yourself for that particular day, is going to help you. And it's part of building resilience when you see everything falling apart or things are being difficult. The next one will be your problem-solving skills. This is the most important with anything in your life. If there's anything you take away from this presentation, please take away the mindset of the problem-solving skill is so important. And it comes with the mindset. We approach each and every problem with solution-orientated thinking. Problem-solving skills. Whatever it is, what can we do? How can we do it right? How can we resolve it? That's what you do on a daily basis. As a business person, all I've ever had to do, or all I do on a daily basis, is solve problems. If I do not have the skill, if the skill is not cultivated, the business will not stand. At any given point in time, any day, you wake me up with 3 to 5 problems every day. So when you're going through the transition, it's exactly like that. You are new to everything. You lack experience. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to anticipate issues. So what you need to build is a problem-solving skill. Approach everything with the thinking that I can do this. This has to happen. How can I do this? What do we need to do? How do we resolve it? Every day in the morning, that's what you say to yourself. And this will help you throughout your life. The problem-solving skill will help you in every area of your life. And this is what sets apart the successful and the unsuccessful people. Solution, or don't be a victim in your life. Don't be like, why does this happen to me? Why does it not happen to you? Who must it happen to? You need to resolve it. And when you resolve it, you gain it's what we call skill. That's what happens. People get paid to solve problems. In the workplace, the value we add is directly proportional to us solving problems. People calling you when there's an issue is equivalent, it's a compliment. It means that you are able to resolve issues. And the next one is adaptability, being able to be open to new ways of doing things. When this doesn't work, whatever needs to happen to solve the problem, let's do it. Whether I'm comfortable with it or not, let's do it. That's how we grow. When we are uncomfortable, we are growing. And then the one after adaptability is learning from our mistakes. You will fail so many times in your life. I've failed so many times in my life. I've gotten up even though I felt ashamed, even though I felt embarrassed, even though how could it happen to me, even though how could I let that happen? I've learned from all of those mistakes. We only get better. We learn so much from failure than we do from success, because success only means that we've done everything right. We know what to do. When we fail, it means that there's something we still need to get right. And learning from it, picking ourselves up from it, do not be ashamed, because you know what the goal is. Let's wake up and let's do it. Let's learn from yesterday's mistake. Today, let's solve something else. Let's do it differently with a different mindset. And all of that is resilience. All of that is resilience. Having that positive mindset, solving that problem, being open to new ways of doing it, and learning from each and every mistake and putting more effort after that. That's resilience. That's us focused on the goals, us focused, understanding that, okay, this is what we need to do, shutting up the noise. We're going to go through this. We're going to just pull through it. That is resilience. And then with that resilience, what we need to do is just take action. We need to take action. We need to get to a point where we put our faith into action. Putting our faith into action meaning we need to stay focused. Attend that interview, update your CV, your profile. Send that business plan for funding. Enter that competition. Just do it. Whatever needs to be done, do it. Just do it. Stay focused, be consistent, wake up and do it. Just do it no matter what happens. Do not stop. Just continue doing it. You learn from the mistake. If it's wrong, it's okay. It will give you the courage to be able to continue each and every day to reach your goal. Transitions are difficult. They are painful because so many things are pulling in different places. Transition is so personal. There is no one way of going through it. And the process is not linear. It's like a healing process. You're going through the motions. But what needs to happen is you need to stay focused. You need to have the ability, the skill to stay focused, to shut out the noise and say, I will focus. This is what I need to focus on, to be consistent and to implement. So we just need to have faith to implement. We need to have faith. In Christianity, we like talking about a peace that surpasses any understanding. Like it's so deep. It's like your circumstances do not matter. You need to get to a point where you're like, I can see that things are falling apart, but this is my line of march. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to focus on, and nothing is going to change my mind. I'm going to go through this career change, this career transition. It's painful. I do not understand, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to act. I'm going to be consistent. Every day I'm going to continue coming here and I'm going to do it for myself because I need to do it for myself. And you just need to implement. And that is the most important thing. So yeah, winners win. And we are all winners. We are all winners. At some point, you'll be a loser because you would have failed. But what makes us different is that right after that, we pick ourselves up and we go. And that's what life is about. The transition is the career change transition is so personal because it affects every part of your life. It's not just an element of your life, it affects everything in your life. And you need to choose whether you're going to be a victim, whether you're going to lose or you're going to win. When your back is against the wall and you don't know what to do, what do we do? You weather through it. You implement your coping strategies. You keep positive. You implement and you implement until you get there. Each and every person who's successful had to go through the same process, had to go through the same process. There had to be a transition. It's like the transitional process of a butterfly. That process is so confusing and unpleasing when you're going through it. But at the end, we become like butterflies. We live the life that we're supposed to live. For me to be where I am today, when I was going through it and still going through it, because God is not done with me yet. He definitely isn't. It has been such a painful process. It's been so challenging. It just has been mind-boggling, but it has been so rewarding at the same time. I think if you're a parent, you have an appreciation of what I'm talking about. Raising your kids is so difficult. It's a challenging process for a mother or a father, but it's also rewarding at the same time. So what I will close with is just a recap of what we went through. And what is important is understanding and analyzing your situation, whether it's planned or it's circumstantial. Implementing the coping mechanisms and the strategies. Staying informed, going for the training, educating yourself will build that confidence. Building resilience, developing that problem-solving skill or skills is going to set you apart and help you cope with the transition. And overall, it goes back to one thing, taking action. We need to have the faith to take action. We need to understand that having faith is for times of transition more than anything. When you know what to do, what do you need faith for? When you do not know, when you are confused, when you're going through a transition and you may be in a position in your life, you're like, what is happening, God? Is there even a God? I never thought I would be in this position. This transition is painful. That's when you're supposed to have faith. You cannot take action when you do not have faith. You need to have faith that things are going to be okay. Where there is vision, there will be faith. You need to have faith that, okay, this is what I said I'm going to do. This is where I said I'm going. And therefore, I will have faith to see it through. Those who do not believe do not do. You cannot wake up and do something if you do not believe that it's not going to work. So when we have faith that something is going to happen, when we have faith that something is going to become, we have faith to take action. So you need to have the faith to take the action. The transition of career change, again, I will say, is so personal. It hits at the core of your identity because it affects your macroeconomic, it affects your well-being at an economic level, meaning your ability to be able to take care of yourself financially and also your family. It affects you at a social level, where you find yourself, what you identify with, and how you relate to other people. And it affects you at your core, your identity as a person. So we need to approach it with so much care and so much caution. But more than anything, always know that it's possible. You can go through it in a more effective way. You can manage your career, even careers, as life goes on. I hope you can take this or take something that will help you throughout the process or the processes of your life. Because honestly speaking, I think the principles of managing your career also apply to the principles of the principles that we just shared now of managing your career change. It's applicable to every area of your life. So I'm hoping that everybody will be able to take it back and be able to implement and cope. I hope you'll be able to cope. I hope you speak to somebody to help you throughout the process. And I hope that you know that you're not the only person who goes through career change. We all go through it and what it means for us. And also know that it affects each and every person's life. And it affects all the other elements in your life. And it's okay. It's okay to go through it. It's okay to go through the confusion, but just have faith. Have faith that it will be okay. Have faith that you've once been okay and you'll be okay again. And I just want to close with Isaiah 50 verse 70. as I said, I'm a Christian. I subscribe to God and to Jesus. So Isaiah 50 verse 70 says, "For the Lord God will help me. Therefore I will not be disgraced. Therefore I have set my face like a flint, and I know that I will not be ashamed." So it doesn't matter what happens. When I was going through it, for me, my big monkey was always feeling ashamed. Am I good enough? Did I do enough? Right? But I'm here to tell you, don't have to worry about it. It's going to be confusing, but have faith to see it through. Have faith to see that career change through. When it happens, when it's transitioning, when the pain causes that confusion, you'll be okay. At the end of the day, you'll be okay. You'll be fine. And I hope I've assisted somebody, even if it's just one person, by sharing my journey. And I would like for our question and answer session to be more of a sharing session. There's other people who are going through it. There's other people who've gone through it. There's other people who are about to go through it. So if yours is not a question, you can just share your story. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thembi. So we've got a couple of questions. So can I read those out to you, and you could then just respond to where it's appropriate?
Yes, please.
Okay, so Patience shared with us that she's an educator by profession. She completed a B.Ed and an honours degree, and she's now busy with a postgraduate qualification related to human resource development. She feels that there's a lot of work and struggling to shift my mind to this new qualification. The reason for the career change is that the nature of work in the HR department feels like a lot of work for me from another discipline, unlike those who have majored with HR in undergraduate. And then she asks, how do I cope? Do you have any tips for me?
Okay. Should I answer it?
Yeah, let's go through the questions one by one.
Okay. So she's an educator, now she's moving into human resources.
Yes.
Okay, and she's struggling to cope with the transition.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is that she feels like it's a lot of work for her. And she is thinking that maybe it's because of she coming from an education
From
background.
a different background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm so familiar with that, Patience. For me, in my industry, I think there's only 1% of Black-owned businesses that are in the medical industry. Like literally one, not Black per se, but Black female. So we are not only small, we are inexperienced, we are marred with at most all the time. I feel like maybe I'm not doing enough or whatever the case may be. So what I can tell you, what we've been able to do to survive in the industry where I'm in, is we had to do a lot more education compared to everybody else. It means that you need to put in more hours than everybody else. When other people come in at 8 o'clock, you need to come in at 7, 6:30. You need to leave later than everybody. Weekends, when everybody else is having a good time, you need to make sure that you are putting in the hours. So all it means, if you're not coping, it means that there's a lack somewhere. You're struggling with balance. So what needs to happen is that you need to start doing research, whether it's informal or formal, as to how you can do better. And sometimes notice your colleagues, see their strengths, right? Check them. Are they aligned to what they studied? If they are, if they studied HR and you don't have the HR background, go to some of those modules, the HR modules, and then you stay informed within that and say, okay, what do I need to know? What is relevant? Because what education does, it doesn't matter what field it's in, it enables you. It teaches you the art of learning. So you are able to use it anywhere you are. So what you need to do is put in a lot more work, put in more hours in educating yourself, training yourself, so that you are able to deal with the work pressure also. And sometimes you think that you're the only person who's struggling, but everybody else in general is struggling. And I think you struggle more than others maybe because of your background, but you'll get there. I think, yeah, informal education would be best. Going through some of that information and learning as much as you can will help you build more confidence. I hope that answers your question, Patience.
Thank you, Thembi.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, Khomotso is saying, since it would seem that career change is a given, how can I prepare best to be ready if I have to change?
Yeah, at some point or another, it is given. I think using the coping mechanisms as we discussed in the presentation is definitely going to assist you. Take care of yourself, work hard, make sure you're always informed. Those are things that are going to help you at some point or another. Sometimes the shift is, for instance, it's a promotion, it's just a better job and more responsibilities, but it's still, the principle is still the same. It's applicable. For you to cope, you need to know what you're doing at all times. You need to be abreast of the trends. You need to research. You need to learn. So yeah, you need to take care of yourself in that process. So I think what we discussed in the presentation is relevant. Your coping mechanisms, your coping strategies is going to assist you. Thank you, Khomoto.
Okay, somebody posted, that's me right now. I have identity issues. I'm a credit controller at a senior level and I'm studying a master's in criminal justice. My passion is to investigate, but I have difficulties in landing that interview despite similar functions. But then again, I stay in hope.
Okay, please say that again. You have your master's and you are currently what's the current?
Yeah, currently credit controller at senior level, studying a master's in criminal justice. My passion is to investigate, but I have difficulties in landing that interview despite similar functions. But then again, I stay in hope.
Okay. So normally what happens is should have to re-strategize the CV. So what happens is it's like somebody who's been in marketing moving to a sales job. People are reluctant to interview you because of your background. Sometimes what we need to do is we need to strategize in terms of our CV and our profile. What happens is now, instead of just stating what the job required, you need to focus on what you did in your previous job that is required in the current one that you want to go into, right? So it requires us to think differently and to look at things in a different way. And also, a paradigm shift in terms of where we are versus where we want to go is so important. How you present yourself as a person. Sometimes also you don't get interviews because you read the job profile, you're like, because of my lack of experience, this and this and this, you don't want to apply for it, or you need to pick which ones you're going to apply for based on your confidence or your emotion. So it's very important that, I mean, you're a master's student in the field that you want to go into. And your one transferable skill that I'm looking at is the attention to detail, your forensic, your skill to look at the detail of things and what they mean and analyzing it. These two jobs have those same skills. So it's easily transferable. And whoever wants to hire you at that level for the job that you want will be able to pick it up, but you need to show that. And you also need to build that confidence within yourself that I have transferable skills. It's not like you're starting from scratch. Also research people who are currently in the field, but were in a different field before you. How did they go about it? market yourself differently. Yeah, be hopeful, but take action. Apply for that job that you think you don't qualify for. That's what I'm saying. Have the faith to see it through, and it could actually work. So all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Thembi. So what I'm really hearing you say is it's important for us to consider our transferable skills and really highlight those. And perhaps you would have a big job in terms of convincing others that those skills are applicable in the new field. But you know, just as the person said, that they stay in hope. So just you know, doing things every day that could help them move closer to that goal of moving into a more relevant field in terms of their studies, or where they are hoping or seeing themselves.
Definitely, definitely.
Thembi, Rose asks, what worked for you in terms of your career change? What is the most important thing that helped you through the challenges of changing?
Work ethic. I cannot overemphasize it. For me, the one thing that I think still carries me now is the work ethic. To be disciplined is a principle you live by in every area of your life. It's so important because it doesn't matter what field you go into. It doesn't matter where you go in life. Everybody values and wants to work with people who have good work ethic and who are disciplined. I think that's the one thing, if anything anybody can take away, is that you need to have great work ethic. You need to be disciplined. If you know you are lacking because you are new to the industry, or you are going through the change, you need to work harder than anyone. Whenever I enter a room, I make sure that I'm the hardest working person there. And the results will also be evident that you're the hardest working person there, whether you're new or not. And you earn that respect when you get to that industry. Thank you.
Thembi, Lulama's asking, can you talk a bit more about building confidence?
Okay. So building confidence, for me, at a personal level, I only become confident when I achieve something. And by achieve something, I mean every day in the morning, how I normally work is that every day in the morning, what I do is I have a to-do list. I have a list of things that I'm supposed to do. And those things already are pre-planned. For instance, I have a weekly plan. I have a daily plan. My weekly plan is connected to my monthly plan, is connected to my overall goal for the year. So that's how I break down. It's like your New Year's resolutions, and then you break it down in terms of intervals, and then you break it down in terms of habits. What do I need to do to reach this goal? This is the habit that I need to have. These are the things that I need to do on a daily basis. My confidence as a person comes from doing those things, making sure that I do them. I hold myself accountable. I do them on a daily basis and throughout. I struggled with self-esteem issues for a very long time in my life, but I've found that when I do something that I say I'm supposed to do, or it's towards the goal that I have, I build so much confidence in myself. And I think everybody struggles with that at some point or another. We have self-esteem issues, especially when you don't have confidence in something because you lack something. So I have confidence when I know that I've done 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It gives me a sense of achievement. So for me, my confidence and self-esteem is always linked to what I'm able to do as a person. Sometimes it can be a bit difficult. For instance, when I didn't do something, it's difficult to deal with it because I put so much value on doing things. I put so much value on achieving things. By achieving, I mean being able to do what I said I'm going to do today. I have on my to-do list today, I have to do the presentation. I have these emails that I need to send out. There's things that I need to do today. If I don't do it today, my day tomorrow is knocked off completely. And then I have a problem because I didn't do what I was supposed to do yesterday. And then what does it happen? In my mind, I speak to myself and say, but why didn't you do what you were supposed to do yesterday? You should have done it yesterday. And now today there's something else. So it knocks me out completely. I'm breaking down confidence to everyday and practicality, because confidence altogether, people would be like, maybe it comes from different elements in our lives, but it comes from doing. When we are able to do something for ourselves that we said we were going to do, holding ourselves accountable. For me, at a personal level, that's what builds my confidence. Knowing that, okay, I was able to do this. I said I'm going to do it. High five to me. Whether I did it right or I didn't do it right, that's something else. But me doing it, coming through for myself, builds a lot of confidence. Thank you, Mulama.
Thank you, Thembi. Katakani has got a compliment as well as a question. What a way to kickstart the week, the month. Excellent presentation. Kindly share your experience and importance of mentorship in career development.
Mentorship falls under, thank you, by the way, Katikani, thank you so much. Mentorship falls under the first support coping strategy, which is reaching out to family or friends or seeking professional help or mentorship. Mentorship is important, but it's one area I'm very reluctant to speak about because of across industries what has been happening with regards to mentorship. Mentorship is about identifying somebody who is where you want to go. And it's not about copying or replicating their process, because you cannot replicate their process because they've gone through circumstances that you might never find yourself in. But it's about finding somebody who's gone through the process, who understands, and you trust with your life. You trust with your life because you're asking this person to guide you through your circumstances. And you trust them because obviously they are successful. So mentorship is so important. I've had somewhat mentorship also at a business level for the longest time. It's somebody who can tell you, okay, to maneuver through this, you need to look at it like this. To maneuver, it's somebody who will keep your paradigm, your focus in check. So it's very, very important to find people who've gone through. It saves you a lot of time in terms of learning and unlearning things. And it also helps you understand that some things you have to go through. Experience will help you in that regard. So I think mentorship is very important, given that the circumstances are also right. Thank you so much, Katekani.
Thank you, Thembi. Somebody said, thanks for the tips on transferable skills. I've been a journalist for 30 years, studying law with the aim of entering the legal profession. Any tips for how to approach prospective employers so that they focus on my experience and not my age?
Oh, that is quite interesting, actually. 30 years in journalism. If anything, I think you should start from a point of confidence. If you've stuck out with journalism for 30 years, it means you have a wealth of experience and knowledge. And showcasing your achievements in your 30-year career as a journalist or in journalism doesn't necessarily mean you're a journalist. Your 30 years in journalism, your achievements and what you've been able to learn, do the situational assessment of yourself and of your situation. That's how you're going to now approach it. It gives you more confidence, firstly, to approach your future employers, your prospective employers, to say, this is what I have. And the age thing, being young means that the people, your peers in your career, will be people who lack experience in the working environment. You will be an underdog. With your age is going to be challenging in terms of social setting, but at a professional level, you'll have more advantage because you have a culture, you've built a work ethic that has cemented you for 30 years. Your experience speaks volume. Going into a new industry, having 30 years of experience in another one is actually a strength. I think what you need to change is how you look at it, not how other people are going to look at it in terms of your age. Your advantage is that you have experience. Be open. The only challenge you will have is a new way of doing things, adaptability, because you've been built on so much of an industry, how things are done there. The change, the transition is going to be more difficult for you because you have experienced other things. But this is an overall win. This is an overall advantage. 30 years working, that is massive. I mean, the level of passion, you already know what it takes to succeed. And that's all that matters. So working with those principles and the skill set that you have, I mean, being a lawyer or being in law comes with a lot of, they're both language communication industries. I mean, you can do so much with it. You can do so much with it. Your investigation skills, your interpretation skills is going to work majorly for you. If anything, I would be afraid of being in the same workspace as you. Afraid in terms of healthy competition, you will do wonders. You will do amazing. I think it should be scary and overwhelming, but you will do exceptionally well. I think it's a good move. It's not a foreign move. I think it's a very great move, and you will be fine. The age thing, it comes with the experience. It comes with the experience. That's the nice thing about it. So all the best to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Thembi. Sarah's asking, is it advisable to change from one career to another, even if you are not coping with the one you're at?
Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Sometimes, remember the failing thing and the mistake thing? Sometimes we find ourselves in situations where we didn't anticipate that it would feel so awful. And it's okay. If you realize that you are in a place where you don't want to be, or you're not coping. For instance, you need to find out what are the reasons why you're not coping. You need to do a situational analysis and a self-assessment. Why am I not coping? Because if you find that you are not coping because you are ill-disciplined, then even in the next career, you will not cope. So finding out what the real issue is, the assessment is going to help you. Am I not coping with the job itself, or is it the workplace I'm in? So identifying those issues, situational analysis is important. So if you find out that, okay, it has nothing to do with me, it's the environment, maybe you can try to change the environment before you change the occupation or the career altogether. And sometimes you find that the issue is with ourselves, and it takes time for us to admit the reason why I'm not coping is because I'm too comfortable, or whatever the case may be. So doing an assessment is very important. I cannot say per se, but it's okay. It really is okay. Don't let the social pressure or the age pressure or you thinking, what are other people going to think if I change this? if you feel like this is it, I won't be able to go for these reasons that are outside of your control, and you can see that if I continue, it's not going to work, then you say to yourself, you commit to yourself, I'm going to move forward from this. I've made the decision, and these are the reasons, so that tomorrow, when you face the same problems, you understand, you have an understanding of them. So I hope I've answered your question. Thank you.
Thembi, there's a question here. How can I transition having come from a toxic environment and not many achievements because of the poor leadership dynamics?
Oh. Oh. So what I can say, the first thing is, there is no situation that cannot be changed. There is no situation that cannot be changed. It doesn't matter. Sorry. It doesn't matter what is the reason for it. There is no situation you cannot change. You need to make the decision that I realized, you do that situational awareness. You realize I was not able to move forward. I was not able to progress because of this toxic situation. This is what I thought at the time, because that's what happens. Bad company corrupts. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, it happens. And we find ourselves in situations in our lives where we just made decisions when we were in a bad place. And it happens to all of us at some point or another. And it's okay. You say to yourself, okay, I need to get myself out of this situation, but how do I do so? And what do I need to do? So your achievements in your life become the achievements that you want. You identify them and they become goals for you. And you say, okay, this is what I'm going to achieve. This is what I want to achieve, right? And how do I get there? You take stock. You take stock. You unlearn the bad habits about the toxic situation you were in, that you've obviously built bad habits due to the toxic environment, but how can you change that for yourself? It's not going to be easy, but you need to identify it. You need to call it by name, and you need to now unlearn it. And sometimes how we unlearn something is to learn something new to replace it. So when we had a bad habit of doing this, in that time allocated, we do something else that is the opposite of that is good. So you need to deal with that situation at an internal level, at a personal level. It does happen that we are led into bad situations by making bad choices because the leadership was bad. So what you need to do is you need to take accountability for yourself, for those actions. Forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself and say, okay, I've taken stock. Now it's time for me to move forward. Here are my goals. I'm not going to self-pity. I'm going to win. This is my life. Doesn't matter whether you start at 40, at 50, at 60, at 30. It doesn't matter. You take control today. You change your way today, and your life will change. Thank you.
Thank you, Thembi. We've got 2 questions left. Kindly share your views with regards to finding work out of the country versus finding it within the country at this current economic and social instability. And as I was reading this question, I wonder also, as a business owner, if you could also link it to, so either finding employment within the current economic and social instability, but also starting a business in this kind of environment.
Okay, so as a business person, as an employer, how we look at things is by value and results. So what happens is, now what we do is we look at people who will best add value more than anybody who has qualifications or whatever the case may be. Really, as a business owner, at the crux of things, what I want is somebody who's going to deliver. So there are people who have qualifications, but who don't execute. There are people who don't have qualifications, but execute. So who are we going to take? The qualifications are important for you to get the jobs, but it's not what keeps you at the job. For instance, you find that these successful people, or successful in terms of qualification, who do not have jobs but have had the experience. When we retrench, those are the type of things that we look at. We don't let go of people who add value. We don't. We let go of people who the business can live without. So when you get to a workplace, make sure that you assert yourself by what you do, the value that you add. So honestly speaking, every business can only afford those it needs. And that's how it is. It doesn't matter what paper or qualification you have. We only keep people the business needs. By business needs, those who add value, those who, no matter what happens, the business cannot survive without you. And when you get to a workplace, you create that. You create the type of environment where that environment cannot exist without you, whether at a leadership perspective or not. By without you, not meaning that you cripple the working environment, but it means that you add so much value, nobody wants to do anything without you. You are workable, you give results no matter what. So in terms of starting a business in this type of economic climate, it's actually one of the best economic climates. When there is, the thing about business is that it's given birth by opportunity, an opportunity mostly by circumstances that are unfortunate more than anything. It's like the business that I'm in. For instance, these people who joined or thrived, our business thrived during COVID. COVID is one of unforeseen circumstances that have cost people so many jobs. But at the same time, in the healthcare sector, it was booming. In the healthcare sector, anyone who started a job during COVID time, who started a business during COVID time, did exceptionally well. Everybody in the industry was doing exceptionally well. So business is about providing a service, or it's solving problems. If you're good with problem solving, you'll be good with business. Technically speaking, let me just put it like that. If you can solve a problem that somebody has, you're in business, because they're going to require your services or your product. That's how business is. And anyone will tell you that, whether they're running a $1 billion business or not. And more often than not, the $1 billion businesses are the ones who are solving problems every day. The higher the need for your services, meaning that it's a prevalent problem to everybody or for everybody, then you're in business forever. And that's how it is. That's how you need to approach it. Yeah, you need to have a level. There's a level of thinking that you need to have when you're in business. It's always problem solving skills. When you have that, I think it's going to be absolutely great. And the question in terms of looking for employment locally versus internationally, that is a personal one. It's up to you whether you want to find a job locally or internationally. And if you can't find one locally, you can always go international. Developed countries have jobs. Their unemployment rates are very low, like 1% and 2%. So for other people, it's always a great idea to look internationally. And it's possible when you come back into the country, should you decide to come back to South Africa, if you have, or wherever you are, if you have a job offer that is international, when you go back to your respective country, I mean, the value that you will have as a person and as an employee will be much higher. So sometimes it's necessary, it makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Thembi. And for our last question, Tabo is saying, thank you for sharing your story. well presented. What are the top 3 books that you could recommend for an aspiring business owner?
Okay, books.
I'm also thinking, maybe if you have any other resources, that you could recommend that might have helped you on your journey.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much, Tabo. For me, definitely reading has been it's been so pivotal. It's been the reason why I survive as a person in general. So in terms of reading, the top 5 books, the best book I've read so far, in terms of business is, what's the name of that book? I have it saved on my phone in terms of, what is the name of it? It's written by a billionaire. I love reading books by billionaires. People have gone before me because I'm hoping to be one. It's Tillman Fertitta, Shut Up and Listen. It's a hard business truths book that shares, is very practical. Is very, very practical about how to maneuver through your challenges as a business person. So that's the number 1 book I can recommend. The second book I can recommend, this is more from a management perspective in terms of managing your business and growing your business as a business leader. It's what is it? Dare to Lead by, what's that lady's name? I'm not good with remembering names of books I've read or even people. I just want to quickly Google it. But it's a book that I keep reading over and over again. Dare to Lead. Yeah, Brené Brown. Yeah, it's a book by Brené Brown, Dare to Lead. I have hard copies of it. The first one is Shut Up and Listen. And the third one is, and this is about a general principle. I keep reading it over and over again. I think every year I just read once. It's Who Moved My Cheese? Who Moved My Cheese? I love it so much because it reminds you, and it's applicable whether you're in business or in a career. It's about mouses that keep searching and keep looking. That the same amount of hunger that you have when you start, you need to keep it. You know, when you're hungry, before you eat, when you're hungry, you are willing to make anything. You're willing to do anything at that point in time to be able to make sure that, okay, you are able to make the food and eat it. So that's the principle, that the same amount of hunger that you have when you start, you need to have it even when you are well fed. Never stop looking, never stop working, never stop, like, even when you find that job, have the same amount of hunger as before. You know, when before you start something, it's like, I know if I get this job, this is what I'm gonna do. When you start it, the enthusiasm with which you start something, let it be the enthusiasm that keeps you, let that be the enthusiasm till the end. So Who Moved My Cheese is a book that I recommend for anybody going through change. Please read it. It's amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thembi. I'm just going to make a few announcements and then we will end off the session. So from our side, we just want to tell you more about the Virtual Grad Expo. So our Directorate for Counselling and Career Development works with the South African Graduate Employers Association, and the Virtual Grad Expo is an event, or it's actually runs throughout the year, but there will be 3 live events on the 17th of May, the 27th of July, and the 17th of August. And basically throughout the year, you'll be able to find information about bursaries, scholarships, work experience, and also graduate opportunities from different organizations on the Virtual Grad Expo platform. So all that you need to do for now is to register for the Virtual Grad Expo. and you will then be able to get notifications of these events that will take place. So even if you are not actively exploring any opportunities at the moment, it is also a very good platform for you to learn more about the different organizations, what they offer, what is available out there. So please register as soon as possible for the Virtual Grad Expo. Then the Grad Next book that you can download for free from the link that I've given there on the screen. So the Grad Next book contains a lot of interesting and useful information about looking for jobs, starting your own business, writing CVs and cover letters, preparing for an interview, networking, personal branding, and also money management. So please also download that book. As I said, it is for free, and it's got a lot of valuable information that will help you on your career journey. Then from us, we would really love to hear from you. So if you have any feedback about this morning's session or suggestions for other topics that you would want to learn more about, please send an email to Mrs. Mandumakanya, and the email address is there up on the screen. And if you would like to contact us at Counselling and Career Development for further conversations, please do so either by sending an email to counselling@unisa.ac.za. You can also book an online appointment on Microsoft Teams, or you could contact a student counsellor at the regional office closest to you. On our website at www.unisa.ac.za/counselling, we've got a lot of valuable information there related to your career, academic and personal development. And our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Unisa Careers also contains recordings of all of these sessions, and we will be posting a recording of this morning's presentation by tomorrow. So from my side, thank you very much. I'm now going to invite my colleague, Mr. Beki Mzobe, if he could just end off the session for us. Thank you, Beki.
Thank you so much, Lisa, and good day all. We have now come to the end of today's session. At note, I take this opportunity on behalf of my colleagues and entire Directorate for Counselling and Career Development at Unisa, express the word of thanks to our guest speaker, Ms. Thembi Nziane, for an excellent and informative presentation. We are grateful for the time and effort you took, Thembi, to share your experiences and your journey with us, especially by helping us to understand today's topic on how to manage career change in your career development process. You highlighted the challenges one might experience through the process, circumstances that can lead to career change, and how to manage the process. I think you prepared us well for the unknown. I conclude by saying the presentation was informative and an eye-opener to all of us. Once again, thank you so much for sharing your time and your journey with us. Thank you so much. Back to you, Lisa.
Thank you, Beki, and thank you again, Thembi, and thank you to Mrs. Makanya also for organizing this, and also for the time that you took to attend this morning and all the very interesting questions that you shared, as well as information about your journey. Thank you very much. We hope you have a great day further.